Hi, everyone. I am Linda Wellbrock, the CEO and founder of Leading Women Entrepreneurs, and we have an incredibly special guest and honoree with us today. Welcome, Tanya Helfand, the founder of Helfand and Associates. So congratulations, Tanya, and thanks for taking the time to be here with us.
Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, let's start with telling everyone about the services that you provide at your firm.
So I am a certified matrimonial attorney. So at my firm, we do predominantly divorce work and divorce-related work, custody issues, support issues. I handle a lot of very complicated financial issues. Changes in circumstance are very big now during COVID, where people's businesses have changed and been affected by COVID. We do domestic violence as well. So all of the variables. I also do mediation, which is wonderful in family law cases. The goal is always to settle. I also do a small portion of bankruptcy work. And sometimes when there's bankruptcy matters relative to divorce, I handle those, which is a little bit different than most divorce lawyers.
Great. So give us a piece of advice that any man or woman should consider if they're thinking about getting divorced.
The most important thing that I advocate, and it saves a lot of money for a client and for the case, is if the person is financially knowledgeable and prepared before going into the case. So if you know what all of your assets are, all of your liabilities, what your income is, what your spouse's income is, where you plan to go, what your budget looks like now, and what your budget is going to look like going forward. If you try and pull as much of that together as possible in advance, you are going to be a very knowledgeable person in your divorce, and you're going to help yourself as well as the lawyer get through this more smoothly and effectively, and you'll help yourself get a better deal as well because you're familiar with the numbers.
Great. And if anyone wants further details on that, tell me about the book that you wrote.
So after many years, I've been practicing now for 28 years, I wrote a book. And the goal, of course, was to help folks. And it's called 20 Tips to a Successful Divorce. And it's a short book, and it gives you some stories and some practical advice about what it looks like in court. What is mediation? Why it is important to have these financial pieces of information. So it's kind of a funny book as well. It has many funny stories and anecdotes, but the goal, of course, was to help people prepare and understand the process, because it can be a scary process.
Absolutely. So that is a great resource for people to kind of have a checklist of what to have before they walk in.
Right.
How do you handle cases differently?
Couple things. I mean, I myself am divorced and was a single mom for many years, so I understand what it's like to be a litigant in the system. I try and be sensitive to the client accordingly. Also, I think nobody's ever accused me of being soft. However, it's very important for families to try and work together. This is not purely business. A lot of it is business-like, and to act in a business-like fashion. And we do have, contract and numbers to deal with. However, I believe in working together. And even though the family may be breaking up, you are still going to have a relationship afterwards. So a little bit of kindness, a little bit of generosity from both sides helps. And obviously, it helps relative to the children. And when it comes to the children, one has to be very sensitive and think about what it's like to be in their shoes. It's not from your perspective, it's from their perspective. So I try and remind clients of that when we're doing a case. So again, we certainly are strong advocates if it's necessary, but if it's not, and we can resolve things amicably and let people move forward in an amicable fashion, we believe that's the best way to go.
Right. I know protecting the children is should be the most important thing in
Absolutely.
all of these cases. And I know that you are definitely an advocate for that. But talk to us about how divorce law differs from other law practices.
In a few different ways. Again, it's not just cutting through and getting the best numbers 100%. There's variables and negotiation. Again, in terms of, and you have to consider everybody's welfare. In a regular business deal, what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours. In family law, you may be a little bit more sensitive to both sides. That's the first thing where it's different. Also, family law is very diverse. There's many different aspects to it. It's not linear. So a personal injury case, for example, there's an injury, there's medical reports, there may be a trial, but it's very linear. Workers' compensation, business law. In family law, we have all these different things and many different moving parts at one time. So a lawyer needs to be adept at all these different things, at considering real estate, considering the negotiations, considering taxes, considering children. There's many different moving parts that are going on in a family law case that a lot of different areas do not have. And it's important to get a lawyer that understands these different nuances.
Yeah, so you have to be a master of all trades in the legal world, it sounds like.
Well, or know where you don't know something, or know where to defer to somebody else for expertise.
Yeah.
And understand there's these different parts, and everybody's case is unique. They're not all the same.
Good point. Good point. So COVID has really put the world in a very interesting place. And I can't imagine if, for all those couples out there going through a divorce during this, how challenging that must have been. So what has affected the courts while you're working through this over these past couple of months?
Well, I have to say the courts really have stepped up. The judges and the staff have really done a tremendous job of helping people move through these difficulties. Cases simply are now on Zoom or by phone. They're trying to move the dockets forward so it's not at a standstill. We now have changed to e-filing. We sort of were old-fashioned before, and we're doing everything by paper. Now the court has moved forward to do that. So I have to say the process is continuing in a pretty normal fashion. Certainly it was affected, but all of the judges and staff need to be commended. In terms of the actual cases, obviously, again, COVID affected businesses significantly, employment significantly, custody. People are worried about sending children. The law is very clear. You have to have parenting time unless there's, overt COVID knowledge. So there's a lot of different COVID specific issues that we've had to deal with since this crisis occurred.
I can only imagine. I mean, again, being in happy households, right? People being in isolation has had its challenges. So thank you for being a resource to all of these people who needed your help. Let's just shift on to a little bit of a lighter note. Is there anything that helped you get through this pandemic on a daily basis?
I'm very lucky. I have wonderful staff who have been very positive through this whole process. So I am just very grateful for all of them. My son, who's in college, came home. So he's not happy about that in terms of, missing out on his friends and his year in college. I, however, am very happy that my son is home. I love him. He's fantastic. And he's an excellent cook, much better than me. So I'm thrilled about that. And, just generally trying to keep on a routine of exercise and, again, going outside. We can enjoy nature and things like that. So it's stressful, but there's outlets that have been good.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I've, in some ways, loved having the time with my family. And I think a lot of people share that same thought with you. And from now until October 8th, we can't wait to celebrate you. We're so excited to have you in our Top 25 Leading Women class. And congratulations on all of your success. And thank you for your hard work and dedication, especially during this challenging time.
Thank you so much.